very warm welcome to today's edition of the Talanta Eye, where we talk about issues making the news or forming discussions around us. Issues hitting our top stories today range from the IEBC's new path to the election journey on October 17th. We'll also have a look at what happened at Moi Girls School and how we can move forward and change our education system so that we don't have that manner of incidences. We'll also have an interesting look at a new app hitting the market known as MyDAO. And we'll finalize with the issue sports, where we'll look at the Confederation of African Nations Championships that are projected to happen in Kenya. Welcome to our edition today, and we start off right off the bat from a story that's making headlines, and that's the IEBC and how much they are restructuring towards the elections. There's been a lot of disputes between the NASA coalition and the Jubilee coalition as they all have their grievances towards the October 17th. And one of the major concern or issue of contention that has been brought up by the NASA coalition is the IEBC and the need to refresh them or put that. But since the IEBC is adamant on controlling and they have the constitutional right to do that. Yesterday, the chairman, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, introduced a new polling team that is going to head this project. He calls the project the presidential election. Now, for this project, some of the guys that have joined in, the project coordinator will be Mr. Hussein Majan. There will be the head of operations, Dr. Sidney Nabulungu. Head of logistics will be Ms. Nancy Kariuki. Head of training, Mr. Bernard Misati Moseti. And the place with the most contention, the head of ICT will be Mr. Albert Gogo, and Mr. Wafula Chebukati clarified that the head of ICT will be answering directly to him. Then we'll have a head of National Talent Center, that is Mr. Silas Rotich. We can only hope that this restructuring restores faith in the participants so that we can be able to move forward, have our elections, and participate very well. Now, moving on to quite a sad story. Over the weekend and over the week, we have been talking about the Moi Girls School incident where 9 students succumbed to fire injuries and others are nursing injuries in hospitals. And there's been a very gruesome identification process where grief-stricken parents and relatives have had to go there for DNA swabs so that they can identify the bodies. But perhaps in an effort to ensure that this is the last of its kind, that we are not talking about students, losing students to such incidences, there has been a spark of new discussions, even as they try to investigate, and 4 girls are being charged, with one of them being the major suspect, because all the survivors are talking about how she has tried to commit suicide 2 times before, and this might have been her 3rd attempt because she was not happy in the school and always felt that she needed to be taken to a better school according to her. And this raises a question of, do we really listen to young people, or do we just think of their complaints as adolescent spats that are just coming out? So it's very important that we make it a habit to listen to our young people, because they are growing, they are vulnerable to a lot of issues, and this might have been an issue of depression gone too far. Then, in terms of safety of students, there's a new discussion, not really new, but a reignited discussion of rethinking the concept of boarding schools. Do we really need boarding schools right now? I know in our country, especially in high school level, boarding school is something of a norm. And it's become such a construct that boarding schools are synonymous to good performance, and day schools are being looked at as schools where those who have failed go to. But then we have day schools changing. We have day schools that have been changing this perception, and these are like Kianda schools, Makini, and several others. And on that note, I think we need to build them up to a point where we are able to have faith and have our children with us at home, so that even as they go to school, be able to walk with them through the journey of life, not just emphasize education results. So that is something that we really need to talk about adamantly. I'll move on to the next story, and that's how much the election is going to cost. There's been this is just a brief mention. It's projected to cost at least 10 billion shillings. Never mind that our economy is at a point where it's now suffering. We will really need to move forward with that, but it's a cost that we have to bear because the courts put up that as something that we need to do. Now, matters online. The online space is creating careers, it's building our economy, but in the same breath, it's becoming a risky place for our young people. We've had incidences of so many rape incidences from girls lured via Facebook. So it also puts up the discussion of needing to look after our security online. Sometimes we think that behind the keyboard we are safe, but sometimes these people behind the keyboard find a way to lure you out with false promises. Some have been lured out with promises of jobs, some personal relationships, and that becomes a very bad precedent set. But not as online. There's no need to lose hope, because we've all seen once in a while where brands surface with responses, very witty, quirky responses that get people talking. And perhaps one of the best places to look at that would be Safaricom, because they get a lot of genuine concerns, but in the same measure they also get concerns that are not really genuine. And one particular guy who is in the team, the social media team, is standing out. His name is Eric Mwiti, but he goes under the moniker ER. That is, when they are responding to you, they don't put their full name, but everyone has to leave a stamp of their identity. It's great to see innovation in Kenya, especially with products like MyDAO. Now I want to take you to a story of good governance, because that's what I'll call it, because as we have so much political tension and a lot of things happening, one cannot fail. There has been a lot of failure to focus on what those who have just the incumbents, those who have just gotten into government are doing. So like our Nairobi governor, Mike Sonko, is doing a great job. I mean, he started by arresting those who were found with 7 million in the cash office, having not deposited it. But now he has the police probing fraud in City Hall. And he says that 4 million every day was not being banked or was not going to the county government. That's one of the things that they've discovered. And then they have been able to recover 38.2 million as far. So I hope every other person who's gotten into governance starts by cleaning out the rot or the mess that was plaguing us in governance, so that we can be able to build a great Kenya, improve our counties, or get the resources that we need to get. And finally, I want to take us to a sports story that has been an issue of discussion. And because even as the Supreme Court ruling happened, we have had so much spillover effect. And that's the story about the Confederation of African Football Officials. They were supposed to be coming tomorrow to inspect our readiness to host the African Nations Championships, but then they postponed that to Monday. And the danger in this is that the more we keep having uncertainties because of securities and politics, then we must also remember at the back of our minds that 2 countries are on standby to host these games if we are found unfit: Morocco and Ivory Coast. And these games open up a lot of platforms for our talents. They also make sure that we get visibility and the economy improves. And we need that kind of an economic boost in such times. And it's going to be happening in 5 venues: Nyayo Stadium, Machako Stadium, the Kasarani Stadium, Kipchoge Keino Stadium, and the Meru Stadium. So it's very, very good that we get that. We hope for the best moving forward. And let me know what you think about these stories, or what you think about these issues that we've discussed today, or what other issues are making the news that are of interest to you. Thank you for joining me on this edition of the Talanta Eye. I'm yours, Edwin Kuria. Until tomorrow, it's been a great talk.